welcome back to the Fantasy Football Toolkit at fantasyfootballtoolkit.blogspot.com. I am once again the Lost Cause, coming back at you to look around the NFL in regards to fantasy football, division by division. The last time we looked at the AFC West. Today, it's time to look at the sad NFC West. And while a lot of people might not find a lot of fantasy value in this division, it is there to be had. You just kind of have to look for it. Let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals, finishing at 5-11 this past season. Arizona has a lot of rumors surrounding it, especially because of the problems that they have at quarterback. Kevin Kolb is a name that is really pushed to the forefront of rumors and scuttlebutt concerning the quarterback situation, but other names to be passed out, other names that are passed out, other names that people are talking about are Carson Palmer and Kyle Orton. However, I'm going to put my money on Kolb. He fits in the system. They seem to want him. Rumors have been going around ever since the end of the playoffs about him potentially being traded to the Cardinals. Then the lockout happened, and all that stuff kind of stopped, but there hasn't been any negative or positive movement as far as the rumors have gone with him. I think you could definitely check him out. Now, drafting him, he could develop into a solid starter, depending on if he gets the trade. If he does get the trade, actually, between he and Kyle Orton, these guys could move up into potentially the top 15 quarterbacks when they become a starter. That being said, whoever gets traded there, I probably wouldn't jump the gun on him. There's still going to be a second quarterback option. At wide receiver, Larry Fitzgerald finished the year with 90 receptions and 1,137 yards. Now, thing is this past season, quarterback problems really hindered his touchdown production, only catching 6 touchdowns. However, the last couple years, he's made at least 90 catches with 1,090 yards in those last 4 seasons. He's definitely a number 1 wide receiver on your team. I take him. He's a solid second-round draft pick. If you take a chance on a wide receiver, I wouldn't take the chance on him in the first round. Definitely second-round material, mid-second, late second, but definitely pick him up. He's the number 1 receiver on your team if you do get him. Another receiver that should be considered is Steve Breston in a deeper league when they do get another quarterback in there. Steve Breston finished the season with 47 receptions, 700-plus yards, and only 1 touchdown, and that, of course, was because of what happened with the quarterbacks. Now, a couple seasons back, when Steve Breston was put in because of injury, Steve Breston actually had really impactful games, and I think that you're going to see those develop once there's a solid quarterback in there, once there is a clean quarterback in there, for him to actually play to his potential as being the opposite of Fitzgerald. At running back, Tim Hightower, Beanie Wells, contract issues, free agency a little bit, maybe. Last year, 153 rushes for 736 yards, 5 touchdowns for Hightower. For Beanie Wells, 116 rushes for 397 yards and 2 touchdowns. Touchdown production lacking, but the whole offense was lacking. Now, to kind of make up for it a little bit, Arizona did the smart thing. In the second round with the 6th pick, they drafted Ryan Williams, 5'9", 212 running back out of Virginia Tech, and I think that he's going to take a lot of steals off of both Hightower if he comes back and Wells. And I think that he might even be a draftable starter. Don't quote me on that, but I'm kind of feeling that from him. Rounds 11 through 15, when you're taking the chances on some rookies, filling in some depth, I'd probably take a chance on him. Now let's take a look at San Francisco 49ers, who have, yet again, quarterback problems, just like every other team in this division. Alex Smith, Troy Smith, had some time. Coach Harbaugh really likes Alex Smith. He's fond of him, even though he did go out and in the second round he picked up Colin Kaepernick. He's a 6'5", 233-pound quarterback out of Nevada. He's going to be the quarterback of the future, but he's also going to take a lot of time to transition into the NFL. And once again, Harbaugh likes Alex Smith a lot, so look for Alex Smith to be the starter. However, look for the new quarterback to come in and take a little bit of time away every now and then. I still don't think Alex Smith is really a starter anywhere, and unless it's a deep league, I really don't see him as being a backup, because those situations where you can play the weak, it's not applicable with Alex Smith. However, what is applicable is the running back situation. Frank Gore, 203 rushes for only 853 yards and 3 touchdowns last season. In the air, 46 receptions for 450 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. He's going to come back healthy. He's going to come back ready to play. He's going to come back really more solid. They did draft a running back that is going to help to strengthen the running game a little bit. It's not going to be anything solid, not going to be anybody worth taking, but at the same time, keep your eye on Frank Gore. He's an underrated running back at this point because of his lack of production last season because of the injury and everything. So keep your eye on him. He's probably going to get taken late in the first round. If your owners have any sense, be on the lookout for him. Maybe between picks 6 and 9, you might want to decide on picking him up. At tight end, Vernon Davis, always a stud, 56 receptions for 900 plus yards and 7 touchdowns. At wide receiver, Michael Crabtree, slowly climbing back up, getting back into the top wide receiver spot for San Francisco. 55 receptions, 741, and 6 touchdowns. I probably wouldn't take him until the 10th round plus. He's going to be your number 3 wide receiver, maybe even your number 2, depending on who all got drafted and how strong your running backs are. But I definitely would look at Vernon Davis and Michael Crabtree to fill out your roster. All right, let's take a look at the Rammies, finishing 7-9 and just missing the playoffs. Now, Sam Bradford, I like him. He's young. His touchdown-interception ratio is really bad from last season, but he had 3,500 yards passing, and he also, in the middle of the season, he had a really, really good fantasy owner-wise point total coming out of him between weeks, we'll say 5 to 10, 5 to 11. I could see him being a starting quarterback in some leagues. In most leagues, though, I think that you're probably going to see him drafted anywhere from rounds 6 to 10, and I think that he's going to be a solid number 2 if you do want to pick him up. Steven Jackson, 333 rushes for 1,241 yards, only 6 touchdowns this season, but also 46 receptions for 383 yards. He's a solid points per reception kind of a player, most definitely, and he's probably also undervalued in a lot of people's schemes. They don't have him in the top 10 sometimes. A lot of people don't even have him in the top 8. Me personally, I think he's between a 7-9 kind of a running back. He still produces the yardage. He just doesn't have the touchdowns, but the yardage that he gets in the air definitely makes him a PPR pickup, so keep your eyes open for him. At wide receiver, it's just kind of a mess right now. You have Amendola, Gibson, and Fellis, wide receivers that are going to be putting up between 300 and 700 yards as the season goes on. One of the rumors, though, is that Terrell Owens is kind of on board with possibly playing, and I'm not going to say that he's a game changer by any means because of what happened the last couple of years with the different teams that he played for, but I will say that he will become a wide receiver that'll help push the other receivers into a couple more receptions, a couple more possessions, and possibly a few more touchdowns, so definitely keep your eye on him. To help strengthen the receiving core, in the second round, Lance Kendricks was picked up, 6'3", 243-pound tight end out of Wisconsin. He's strong, and he's probably the most athletically gifted tight end that was in the draft this year, so they definitely had a big score there for St. Louis. Also, in rounds 3 and 4, wide receivers Austin Pettis and Greg Salas. Austin Pettis is a dependable route runner. He's got really short hands, so it should help Bradford develop more into a possession kind of quarterback instead of just having to pull out of the pocket and fling it downfield. As far as Salas goes, he should really kind of develop in time as a slot receiver for the Rams in their 3 and 4 receiver sets. So look for all 3 of these guys to actually see playing time on the starting lineup as the season goes on. So in a rookie league, you're probably looking at all these guys. In a redraft league, I'm definitely going to take a look at Lance Kendricks in the latter rounds, just for the simple fact that if he does develop, you're going to have gold. If he doesn't develop, I'll draft him in the later parts of the rounds. In IDP leagues, I'd look at James Hall, 11 sacks. The only problem is as the team's defense gets, well, the team in general actually gets younger and younger and younger. He doesn't. He's a 34-year-old defensive end. I would just watch him. If you're going to pick him up, don't pick him up too early. Don't shoot the gun on him. Don't look at those 11 sacks as the end-all, be-all. He's had 11 sacks before in his career, 11.5 to be exact with Detroit, but I wouldn't jump the gun on him. Finally, let's take a look at Seattle Seahawks and yet another quarterback problem. Hasselbeck and Whitehurst. Hasselbeck and Whitehurst. Hasselbeck, at the beginning of the lockout, rumors were he is a Seattle Seahawk through and through. No question about it. However, as the lockout's gone on, the rumors have kept coming out of his camp, people that are close to him, that he's not really happy with Seattle at this point. He's looking for other endeavors. He's also looking for a 3 or 4 year contract because that's how much oomph he thinks that he's still going to have left to be able to play in the NFL. So he's looking for the last 4 years of his NFL career to be playing in Seattle or to be playing somewhere else as long as his job's secure. As far as Whitehurst goes, there's a couple problems with him, and that includes consistency. That also includes field awareness. I probably wouldn't draft either quarterback at this point for the simple fact that Hasselbeck has fallen from a number 1 on most teams down to a number 2, and a lot of people can even say that because of injury, age, and also the team that he plays on, you might want to stay away from even the number 2 spot on your team. At running back, there was a hodgepodge. Right now, it doesn't look like Lynch is going to be anything too solid, but I would look on the horizon because D'Angelo Williams is the leading candidate for free agency to come into the team. As far as receivers go, the lead receiver, Mike Williams, 65 receptions for 750 plus yards and 2 touchdowns this last season. The 2 touchdowns are probably something that's going to keep people away from him. However, at the same token, he's also going to be a number 2 or number 3 on a lot of people's teams. And once that quarterback situation is resolved, there's a steady running back in there. And also, because of the offensive line help that was brought into Seattle this season, you might actually see those numbers go up a little bit, especially with the touchdowns. If he gets the possession down, I'm going to say that you're shooting a little bit too early between the 4th and the 6th round, maybe the 7th round, 8th round. If you do need to fill that second, and if you have two strong running backs, this is definitely a wide receiver that you could probably take a chance on. As far as the other receivers there, Manu, Butler, and Stokely, these guys are going to be really there just to help alleviate Mike Williams and to help alleviate whoever else that they bring in. Speaking of bringing in, free agency wide receivers are definitely something to look at for this team. Santonio Holmes, Braylon Edwards, James Jones, Michael Sims-Walker, and Malcolm Floyd. And I think out of that group, I think that you're probably looking at Malcolm Floyd and probably James Jones to be the 2 leading candidates to come into Seattle. Now, I'm not saying that that's a possibility, but I'm saying keep your eyes on it, because if that does happen, you're going to see some numbers out of both of them, and Mike Williams' numbers will probably only go up. That's it for another episode of the Fantasy Football Toolkit, our look back and our look forward at the NFC West. You can find this podcast as well as every other podcast of the Fantasy Football Toolkit at fantasyfootballtoolkit.blogspot.com. You can send me questions, comments, rumors, photos, videos, depending on how fun they are, to the email on the site. That's it, everybody. This is The Lost Cause. See ya.